At this point, sometimes it takes experience. I'm wondering if now that you have some of that experience, if you see more validity to that point, or what you think about that now that you've gone through it.
Just about experience.
All right, man. First of all, I want to congratulate the 2021 Milwaukee Bucks winning their first NBA championship in 50 years and pretty much defeating the odds. I didn't hear anybody before the season, going into the season, going into the playoffs, anybody really giving Milwaukee a legitimate chance to win an NBA championship, and they just did. So we got to give them their props. I don't care what side of the NBA fandom you're on, whether you're on the James Harden side and that weird James Harden versus Giannis beef, whether you're on the Anthony Davis is better side and that Anthony Davis Giannis comparison. By the way, I've been saying Giannis. Whatever side you're on, you can't tell me watching that NBA Finals and watching Giannis close them out with 50 points while they're winning their first championship in 50 years. That was one of the most satisfying things I've ever seen in sports. These past 3 to 4 seasons, especially after the Bucks, they kind of choked and melt down in some of those crucial moments in the playoffs. Giannis, he's been one of the more polarizing players in the NBA. A lot of people created the narrative that he can't be the best player on a championship team, he can't lead, all this stuff, and to me, that was always false. Now, Giannis being a consistent number one threat, especially closing out games and things like that, a la Kevin Durant, LeBron James, and Michael Jordan, no, that was never in his skill set. But what he does, as I've always said, is just as effective. And that's where team structure and how they compose that team, that's where it was so significant. Even though Giannis is the best player on the Bucks, and that's not even arguable, it's not negotiable, none of that stuff, he's getting paid the big bucks because he is the best player on that team offensively, defensively, everything. Chris Middleton was always the key to them winning an NBA championship, and this playoff run, it proved it. I told you guys in my last video, the Bucks were 1-6 when Chris Middleton shot under 43%. That's not even the best, it's pretty much just decent, but it's something. Now they're 15-1. They were 15-1 when he shot 43% or better. Also, this playoffs, Chris Middleton tied LeBron James in 2007 with the most game-tying or go-ahead field goals in the fourth quarter or overtime. What does that tell you? That just shows you how significant and how clutch he was for this Bucks team. And you have to look at some of the moments Chris Middleton had this whole playoffs. Game 1 against Miami, that was the best game of that whole series. Nick and tuck, tight game. Jimmy Butler didn't play the best, but it was a very tight game. Who hit the game-winning shot to pretty much set the tone of the series? Chris Middleton. In the second round against the Nets, Kevin Durant has a historic performance in Game 5, goes off, puts the Nets up 3-2, and in Game 6, with their backs against the wall, they needed that bucket to trade baskets with Kevin Durant, something that's extremely hard to do. Chris Middleton gives you 38. In the Eastern Conference Finals, when Giannis went down in Games 5 and 6, Chris Middleton averaged 29 and helped punch their ticket to the NBA Finals. And in the NBA Finals, in the biggest games, Games 4 and Games 5, Chris Middleton was huge, especially in Game 4. So again, even as dominant as Giannis was, and again, this isn't a shade to Giannis, their championship success was always heavily reliant on Chris Middleton and how consistent he can be in that closeout fourth quarter first option in a half court type of role. That was a significant role in the playoffs and he lived up to it, and that's why they're champions. Also, Jrue Holiday, and I told you guys in my last video, I'm not relying on Jrue Holiday to be a consistent offensive threat, and to be honest, it really didn't even matter that much for the Bucks. Exactly what I told you about Chris Middleton and how his shooting splits directly correlated to the success of the Milwaukee Bucks. Well, it was damn near the exact opposite with Jrue Holiday. In the games where Jrue Holiday shot under 43%, last night he was like 4 for 19, but he still had a pretty solid game. Bro, they went like 9-4. In the games where he shot under 43%, they went 7-3. So it wasn't really that much of a big difference. Jrue was able to play this unique role where he was damn near like a part-time offensive weapon, and on the defensive side of the ball, he helped pretty much eliminate the other team's best playmaker, and it worked, so shout out to Jrue Holiday. And lastly, for Giannis, bruh, he just had one of the greatest playoff runs I've ever seen, and specifically in the finals, probably the most dominant on both sides performance I've ever seen ever. Like on both sides of the ball, he was everywhere. we could talk about numbers all day with Giannis. As we know, he generates the craziest PER, points per game, rebound. He does the craziest numbers, advanced stats ever. But I want to talk about his loyalty and damn near how it just worked out for him in the most crazy, satisfying way ever. In this new mobile age of basketball where everybody's going from team to team trying to put themselves in the best situation to win, and understandably so, Giannis stayed down to the grind, and I'm glad he did. As we all know, all championships are not created equal. I don't care what anybody says. Kevin Durant, he has some of the greatest finals performances I've ever seen, especially in 2017. Still, that championship is never going to have the same feel or tone to it as the Dirk Nowitzki championship, and now Giannis Antetokounmpo. If he was to do what everybody told him to do last year and basically go to Golden State or go to Miami or go to a team like that and play behind Steph and Clay and win a championship like that, it was never going to have that same feel to it. Also, I'm glad Giannis stayed down to the grind because unlike LeBron, because I see a lot of people making this comparison, and to be honest, it's crazy how similar their career trajectory, how it really was. But unlike LeBron, Giannis's failures in the playoffs up to this point, a lot of it was on Giannis. No, Chris Middleton wasn't always the most consistent. No, Eric Bledsoe wasn't the best in the playoffs and things like that. But the Bucks, they won a lot of games in the regular season, and the Eastern Conference, it wasn't crazy loaded, especially after LeBron left. A lot of their failures were directly linked to Giannis pretty much not living up to that MVP standard that he set for himself, and now he has, and that's why they're NBA champions, and it's so satisfying. And lastly, before this video ends, I gotta touch on Chris Paul at least a little bit. I don't care what anybody says. I don't care how anybody feels about this. I just don't care. This year, this was the best chance Chris Paul has ever had and is ever going to have to ever win an NBA championship. And he blew it. Like, he blew it and it's over. I made a video 2 years ago pretty much talking about Chris Paul being the most underachieving point guard in NBA history, and to be honest, it still stands to this day. I don't care what anybody's talking about. In that video, I placed Isaiah Thomas talking about something very specific that I believe to be true about Chris Paul. He's mastered the box score, pretty much how to fool you and deceive you. Oh, Chris Paul didn't play bad. He had this and this and this and this. But it seems like when you need him most, when you need him to be cutthroat and put his foot on somebody's neck to get to the next level in his career, he's never quite there. I showed you guys this last video, and to be honest, now you can add game 4 because it matters. In game 4, he played terrible, and in game 5, even in game 5, though he had a great fourth quarter, in the first 3 quarters, he was just coasting. I even tweeted, but as Chris Paul even playing, he was passing the ball, going to the quarter. It seemed like Jrue Holiday was pretty much taking away his will to even score the ball anymore, and by the time he actually showed up in the fourth quarter, it was damn near over. They dug themselves in such a hole, they couldn't battle back from it. That's the type of stuff that Chris Paul does, and that's, to me, why they're not NBA champions. Like, he wasn't consistent enough, and him and Devin Booker, they were never quite on the same page, and man, it's tough for Chris Paul, man. It's sad. If you guys like this video, shout out D-Book, man. Shout out D-Book. Even though, you know, they didn't finish the job and all that stuff, this was his first NBA Finals or his first NBA playoffs, and he played great as a totality. Like, if you look at his playoffs as a whole, he played great. Like, this was his first playoffs, and he played great. Game 6, it wasn't the best, but he played great. Like I said, if you guys like this video, make sure you guys follow my social media sites. I have another video coming out this week soon, so make sure you guys turn on post notifications. Do all that great stuff, guys, and until next time, as always, we made it, man. The season is over. The season is over. Off-season content will be popping. I hope you guys enjoyed this year. I hope you guys enjoyed this season. Once again, congratulations to the Milwaukee Bucks. Do all that great stuff, guys. And until next time, as always, stay tuned.